Number 1. This all happened when I was 20. I was renting a room in a share house with an older lady who was having issues with another tenant and decided to just scrap the whole thing and move. Unfortunately, this meant I had to find a new house to live in pretty fast. My aunt had a rental property that she was renting to two guys who were the sons of two different friends. One of them, Jack, was very charismatic and kind at first, and the other, Max, was friendly and seemed quite shy. They had a spare room. The rent was cheap. It was right across the road from my aunt, who was my mum figure at the time, and so once I met them, I decided to move in. At first, everything was fine. I had never lived with guys before who weren't my brothers, and when you're 20, this seems like a pretty cool thing. Jack liked us to hang out, like a family. So we often had dinner together, watched TV together, go out to the movies together, and so on. Max was a little older than us, and as I said, he was quite shy. He was overweight and a self-described nerd, and you could tell in the first conversation with him that he had very little self-esteem. I went out of my way to be kind to him, because I knew what it was like to be treated badly, and I often gave him little pep talks and compliments when his friends were treating him badly. Unfortunately, this resulted in Max developing a bit of a crush on me. One night, I was hanging out with my friend Evie after work, and he asked if we'd like to go out and get dinner with just him. We were like, yeah, sure, and we went out and had an alright time. Maybe a week or so later, I came home from work exhausted, so when he asked if I wanted to get dinner with him, I said no, and went into my room to wind down. Maybe 2 hours later, Jack knocks on my door and asks if I know where Max is. I say nope. He asked if I wanted to get dinner, but I said no, and I thought he'd also been in his room this whole time. Jack says no. They don't know where he is. Finally, Max texts him back and says he was upset and had driven up to the top of a mountain lookout to think. Jack ends up getting really annoyed with me, asking why I couldn't have just gone to dinner with him. Why did I have to upset Max like that? Luckily, Jack's friend Mike was there and came to my defense. Jack can be a pretty persistent guy, and I didn't have the confidence then that I have now. Ironically, it's this house and experience that has made me as headstrong as I am today. Anyway, saying that, obviously I didn't have to reciprocate Max's crush. Fast forward through the months, and it's the same kind of behaviour. Weird jealous moments and unsettling behaviour. I start to notice a shadow under my door at night, like someone is standing outside it, but I brush it off as being paranoid. Jack was a very touchy-feely kind of guy, and would often take a nap on my bed with me, and his German Shepherd on a weekend afternoon. Or we'd sit next to each other on the couch, and Max did not like that one bit. Once we caught him taking photos of us lying on the couch watching a movie, which at first he refused to delete. There would be a few times where my phone wasn't where I'd thought I'd left it, but I was always losing things like that, so it wasn't a huge red flag for me. He would also often ask very sexual and inappropriate questions, even after I was assaulted his first question, which was about the state of my pubic hair. Eventually, Jack and Mike come to me and say they are also concerned. Max has been talking to them about putting cameras in the bathroom to watch me showering. He's been telling them we've been friends for years, and had previously planned to move into a house together, just the two of us. By the way, this is not true. They say they're keeping an eye on him, and tell me to tell them if anything happens. I go straight to my aunt and landlord, and tell her what's going on. Her and her partner's advice is just pretend I have a boyfriend, and to play porn really loudly, so it sounds like we're having sex, and maybe he'll just leave me alone. I wish I was joking. In the summer, Evie and I had tickets to go to a music festival in the city that was a 7-hour drive away. Max was talking about how he'd love to go, blah blah, and I said something like, "Oh, you should go." Just a throwaway comment while I was making dinner. I meant that he should go with his own friends. It was not an invitation for him to come with us. So, about 15 minutes later, I walk into the lounge room and he says, all smiles, "I bought a ticket." I was just like, "A ticket?" He said, "Yeah, to the music festival. It's going to be so fun." I didn't know what to say. I knew if I told him he couldn't come, it would devastate him. So I just texted Evie like, "Hey, sorry, but now Max is coming with us." So the day we leave arrives, and we end up getting on a plane. Decided we didn't want that long drive in the car with Max. And we arrive in the city. We're staying for 4 days, and the music festival isn't until the 3rd day, so we have some time to explore. When we unpack, I realise I've forgotten my phone charger. Typical me. Evie has a different phone model, but Max offers to charge it for me when it needs it. Evie and I are sharing a room, Max has his own room, and there's a bathroom in between us. On the first day, Evie and I are kinda disheartened, because we wanted to go shopping and do fun 20-year-old gal stuff, and now we've got this weird dude with us. We end up just going to the zoo and then coming home. This whole time, we're kind of texting each other and our other friends in the city, trying to figure out what to do, and complaining a bit about Max. That night, when I went to get my phone back from Max, by the way, he charged it in his room. Big mistake on my part. He sort of sulkily just threw the phone back to me, and I had a feeling he must have read my text. But at this point, I don't really care, because he's just getting on my nerves. The second day, Evie and I are both going to spend the day with separate friends in the city. Evie leaves first, and I get in the shower. Like I said, the bathroom was between our 2 bedrooms. There was a door to the lounge room that had a small gap between the bottom of the door and the floor, and there was another door in the master bedroom, Max's room, that was sliding and didn't lock. I was worried about this door, and kept an eye on it while I got ready for my shower. For some reason, I was feeling very uneasy. The shower was just completely open in the rest of the bathroom. Think a rectangle, with the vanity and toilet being on the left wall in the first half, and the second half was just completely shower. There was no shower curtain or door to hide behind if he decided to quickly throw the sliding door open. So I'm showering and washing my hair when I notice this shadow at the bottom of the door. I think to myself, God, now this creep is standing outside the bathroom while I shower. I thought it was his foot, but every time I look at it, the shadow moves away. I think, how can he know I'm looking at him? So I duck down in the shower to see if I can get a better look. The shadow moves away, but not fast enough. It was his phone. I turn the shower off, get dressed as quickly as I can, and go into our bedroom and lock the door. Evie is very far away by now, but my city friend texts me to stay there, and that they're a few minutes away and will be downstairs soon. I text my aunt to tell her what happened, and go downstairs to meet my friends. On my way out, I put my phone up against the bathroom door, with the camera open. You could very clearly see the entire bathroom. Max had disappeared into his room, and I wasn't in any mood to confront him. I was just shocked. I didn't know what to do. I go out to lunch with my friends, and my aunt calls me. She says I should just try and see if there's a video on his phone. She says she can't get involved because it's her friend's son. Please keep in mind that she was like my mother at the time, me having no relationship with my actual mother, and I look to her for all my advice and reassurance. That this was her attitude about it really set the tone for how I would feel and how I would handle it. While we're at lunch trying to figure out what I should do, I get a text from Max saying there's a family emergency. His brother is in the hospital and he has to go home straight away. I text my aunt and there is no family emergency. He knows I've caught him and he's trying to escape. I was relieved, and when Evie and I got back to our hotel, he was gone without a trace, except for his music festival ticket which we gave to one of our friends. When we get back home, he's not there. He's packed up all of his things and moved out completely. Jack is annoyed at me because he doesn't work and Max pays for a lot of things. Spoiler alert. And I will post eventually in the Bad Roommates thread. Jack is not a good guy. But then he admits that he knew Max was going through my phone whenever I left it behind, because I never had a passcode on it before. And he had also been going through my laptop. Same deal, never had a passcode, because it wasn't a shared computer and I didn't see the need. It turns out that he had read all of my messages and found my Tumblr and other accounts. It all ended up being a huge headache. My aunt and her partner were annoyed at me for creating a mess with their rental property, and close friends. And Jack was annoyed at me for getting rid of his meal ticket. I persevered in that awful environment for a few more months before fleeing home to my dad. So Max, my awful, awful housemate, let's not meet again. Well, anyway guys, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed, then please leave a like, share and subscribe if you haven't already. I know that there's only one story in this video, but I feel like a story like this needs to have its own video to kind of get the atmosphere and understand the story a little bit more and appreciate it more. So I hope you understand that. Also, if you have any stories of your own which you would like to have shared, please make sure to contact me, link in the description, and you may be featured in a future video. Well, anyway, I hope to see you soon, and I'll speak to you later.